Hi, everyone. Welcome back to some Paper Modern Live here on my old Demo Dave channel. And I'm here with Scott, as usual. And we're watching Boros Energy versus Eldrazi in the final of our recent RCQ, Scott. What do you think of this event and how we got here to this final?
Well, the event was obviously very well run by yourself, as usual, but just very quick word about the decks. This is Heragast Eldrazi specifically, so it will play slightly differently to some other versions that people may have seen out and about. It's more focused on emerging Heragast and then using that to emerge Emrakul.
Pretty much. Like Eldrazi's got many forms now, doesn't it? But actually, to be credit to it, so does the Boros Energy deck, which is not really a singular one-trick pony build in any matter of form as we go into current modern.
Yeah, so small humble brag, I actually made the semi-finals of this event playing a different version of Boros. I was playing Voice of Victory and a Dalkovan encampment in the lands. Obviously, very, very small changes by and large, where it's mostly just playing around with the numbers. Ben is, at this point, pretty well known for playing Boros, and he has got a very, very clean list here, to be fair to him.
Yes, solid all the three drops under the season, Pyromancers and the Flage. Goblin Bombardment is just a complete staple of this deck too. Yeah, they also had a really great run and always good with this deck to just mulligan to 6 and go straight into turn 1 Ragavan. Off you go.
Yeah, Gavin is very, very good at this deck as well. Obviously, Ben, it goes without saying, he's a Grand Prix champion. We know he's going to play this sort of deck very well known for playing Death Shadow for a long, long time at a very high clip. Gavin really, really impressed me with his play throughout the whole day. He actually beat me twice. He beat me in the Swiss and then ended my top 8 run as well to make it to the final. In a way, I am glad that I didn't have to embarrass myself playing a Boros Energy Mirror against Ben, though, so it could have been worse.
Yeah, and fair to say that like this is by no means a good matchup for Boros Energy into Eldrazi, but both got their lines to victory because Gavin himself obviously did pick up a loss to it in the Swiss. Starting off with the Utopia Spore, which is really impactful in this meta with Damned Sphere everywhere, and Goblin Bombardment getting down whilst basically it's free to is huge for all the big removal that's coming from the Eldrazi side.
Yeah, so Arena of Glory sitting in the lands as well is quite relevant. Being able to Arena of Glory out even something like a Season Pyromancer to get the last couple of points can be really relevant, but obviously the main reason that Boros is playing Arena of Glory is Flage, and that's 12 damage over 1 turn. That can be a lot of damage.
Sure. And potentially impactful later here with Ragavan picking up treasures is sowing Myca Spawn is a key part of the Eldrazi deck. With a few treasures hanging around, you're not going to be so stifled by any of the land destruction. Nothing castable yet though from the Ragavan dashes.
Yeah,
into Ajani as well. What a strong one.
Yeah, Ajani is a hell of a clock. So in response to the Ajani trigger, that looks like a Kozilek's return. So Ben playing nice and tight, throwing them both at Gavin for 2 damage. Gavin's basically priced into doing that at this point, where you just need to slow it down, and that looks like a second Ajani off the treasures.
The classic Thoughtseize bug Ajani, which then means you bombardment it and you change it over, and I think they're going to end up catching up with the score here, but that did really get about 10 damage in, I believe. It was quite a lot in total.
Yeah, so the cat plus Ragavan is 2, or Ajani plus Ragavan is 2. The follow-up Ajani is another 1, and then it's 2 off the 0 on Ajani. So you're talking about 5-6 damage with 2 creatures there ready to attack. Gavin actually struggles to answer Planeswalkers when they're resolved. So actually dealing with the Ajani, as we saw Kozilek's return, can deal with that quite nicely and quite cleanly. A flip to Ajani, not the easiest thing to deal with in the world.
Yeah, and constantly making a bit of cardboard is always effectively making 1 damage. And here is that Sowing Myca Spawn. Kicking it as well. So looking to search for land and also destroy lands. So a little bit of a chip away at Ben here is gonna slow him down a little at least.
Yeah, Gavin taking the Sacred Foundry there is pretty heads up and quite interesting, where leaving the Arena of Glory down is well aware of the fact that this game's probably not going to come down to activating Arena. It's more going to be about just this Ajani at this point, whether Gavin can actually get through to it. I'd assume the Sowing Mic Spawn is just going to be shot by the Ajani next turn. Gavin's then going to be taking 4. We are approaching the end of this game very, very quickly. Despite Boros being able to go over the top of a lot of decks, it can end games extremely quickly. Normally that's down to Goblin Bombardment plus Ajani.
Yeah, there's going to be a bit of a pew-pew action here, isn't it? With the Sowing Mic Spawn's going to get shot down as extra pieces of cardboard are made, and getting in for a few more damage. Ben doing a little bit of table math there, as he saw, but reaching for an additional cat and shooting the Micro Spawn down and getting in for some extra damage.
I think Ben was just deciding whether potentially to shoot Gavin, attack with the 2/2 ones, and then you can throw the one that Gavin blocks and then potentially finish him off with another 2 cats being sacrificed to the bombardment. So that's just what Ben was double checking there.
Yeah, so figuring out if that was the best line. Guessing that might have changed if there was a land there, so there was no land off the top, and that good old 7 mana number has, well, more than 7 mana number has been hit. So what kind of comebacks would Gavin potentially have? A Kozilek?
And Emrakul the Promised End is probably the best play here, because you can use Goblin Bombardment and throw the creatures around at Ben's stuff instead of Gavin's face. So Kozilek's command, that is for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So X is 7. So it looks like it's going to be 7 spawns. I assume scry 7, draw a card potentially.
I can imagine, because like you say, you really like to get Emrakul out there and scry the 7 and cast it pretty cheaply based on the Cavern Graveyard state.
Yeah, so Kozilek's command being cast for that much mana is actually enough to satisfy Sanctum of Ugin, interestingly enough, even though Sanctum of Ugin says whenever you cast a colourless, it's a colourless spell with converted mana cost 7 or greater. So even though it's an X spell, we look at what it is on the stack. That's enough to trigger that Sanctum of Ugin, so picking up Devourer of Destiny and triggering the Kozilek's return.
Oh, interesting. So Ben will be needing to ping these away here, but that will ping Gavin down to 3. And, well, as we mentioned about Flage earlier, it won't take much to get that in play. And but Ben is short mana, so there'll be some work before we can get there.
I do apologise, I've just double checked. Kozilek's return specifies Eldrazi creature spell, not Eldrazi spell. So I did just want to double check that.
Hence why he's going for the Devourer of Destiny, casting that to get the Kozilek's return off. So yeah, bigger board swing there to make that clear up what Ben's got and leave a 6/6.
Yeah, so Devourer's cast trigger, exiling the Ajani, and the tokens being thrown at Gavin, we would have to assume, because they were just going to get wiped by the Kozilek's return anyway.
Yeah.
So Ben, just land go. We have to assume there's maybe like a Seasoned Pyromancer in hand, maybe a Fable, that sort of thing. Maybe even a Flage.
A Flage would be ideal if that's sitting there. Fetch into a Surveil land here. Get fill up the bin. And or even some more Johnnies on board to start the bombardment triggers again.
Yeah, I mean, he just anything really, because if those 3 bombardment triggers did go at Gavin, I believe Gavin would be at 3 here, not 6. So Devourer of Destiny, it's a reasonable clock. It's a 3-turn clock here to get Ben dead, and we have to assume Gavin's casting another huge spell here.
Wow, Kozilek's return is going to be huge here. Sorry, I got his Kozilek's command.
Yeah, so X is 5. So we are making spawns and scrying 5 draw a card. So with the kind of cards that this deck does play, it's, as I said, it is lower to the ground. It plays things like Eldrazi Repurposer, which does require green mana, but
it does.
In this case, this deck is much, much better at gumming up the ground. That's what I found in my matches against it, where sometimes they just play an Eldrazi Repurposer and you haven't drawn the Galvanic Discharge or Static Prison to get through it, and it just holds you off for even a turn. Mm-hmm. And then they untap and play an Emrakul the Promised End, and you just lose.
Bit of a correction on the scoreboard. You were right that the 3 Goblin Bombardment triggers did go to face. So we are still sitting on land Flage off the top, unless Flage is already in hand.
Oh, so there we are. There is a rumble there with some floating green mana by the looks. So Gavin, as I said, very, very proficient at this deck. Knows the lines, knows what he's doing with the deck. Ben having a read of Heracast as well, just not really knowing that it's this variant of the deck until this point.
Evercast was also cast in the Swiss rounds, and the interesting interaction with Emrakul is about the fact that it discounts after the other discount of the CMC was quite one of those like, oh, okay, I'm dead moments to the opponent.
It's if you have straight Delirium, so if you've got 4 types in your graveyard, Emrakul the Promised End costs 9, and Heragast says each creature spell you cast has Emerge. So Heracast costing 9 then means you can just sacrifice the Heragast and slam an Emrakul. And that was enough for Gavin to summarily kick my head in with this deck.
So Ben is about to surveil. What are we looking at? With a leave on top. It's a land, and there's a Flage.
That's probably good enough.
That's how you do it. And that Flage coming in clutch, and always coming in clutch is being able to find that perfect common or uncommon that you need for your deck. And best way you can do that is make sure you've got your bulk box full to the brim. Currently, you can get 10% off single or triple packs with our sponsor bulk box. You can use the code OldieModern at checkout. That means then we'll be able to support you back on the channel, give some giveaways, and you'll also be able to use the best quality protection for your cards. Hands down, free shipping in the UK, and just the best thing you can do. But if you're looking for more expensive cards, we've got a new partner on the channel called Catnip and Cards. They're based in Cardiff, good friends of the channel, and they are also offering you 5% off all singles now. Over on the site, OldieMoDave, in the promo code will get you 5% off any singles they have available. And they're also buying 2, so go check them out. Scott, whilst you're busy checking out Bulk Box, what would you be sideboarding in this matchup?
I don't need to check out Bulk Box. I've got 2. They are nice and full, and they are just at my feet. But in this matchup, really, Gavin can kind of pick and choose depending on what variant of Boros it is. Things like Dismember you might see come in. They can help deal with an early Ragavan or an early Guide of Souls. On the Boros Energy side, it's going to be things like Molten Rain to disrupt the mana from the Eldrazi deck. But as I did say, it is Eldrazi Repurposer, Heragast Eldrazi. Molten Rain is less effective against this variant. It's still perfectly acceptable, and you bring it in because you want to get them with it. It's just not quite as good as, say, the variants that have picked up the new Ugin from Tarkir Dragonstorm, or they're just playing a whole bunch of talismans and just playing loads of 7s.
Do you think we're still in a discovery mode with the best Eldrazi deck since the ban-ins, or is it becoming quite clear which way we should be going?
I think the entirety of Modern's in a little bit of flux, to be honest.
Yeah, I'd agree.
With some of the more recent challenge results, you're seeing things like even Mill picking up the odd win, Amulet Titans winning some. There was a MXP in Santa Clara, I believe, from Laughing Dragon Games. There wasn't any Boros Energy in the top 8 of that, which
no, there wasn't. That's right.
Which was very, very surprising. There is an Eldrazi deck. I'm just going to double check. Yeah, so that's the more traditional one. Syra 7 Deaths, Worldbreaker, Emrakul the Promised End, Ugin, that sort of thing. So Heragast, slightly less common, but Gavin taking it to an RCQ and doing very, very well with it. It shows if you know your deck, then you can do well with it. It doesn't matter if it's not necessarily the ideal version for the meta game or your sideboard's not 15 out of 15, absolute perfect. If you know your deck, you can do well with it.
Yeah, all the Eternal formats seem to be working their way to that as a standard now, don't they? That if you just know your deck well, you can perform, and that's a really good place to see, considering the additional investment that they usually take. The Eldrazi repurposer is down. I've seen this do some funky combos in its time, but Ben has possibly the strongest opening board you can have from Boros Energy here. You let this Ajani and Cat combo with Guided Souls get out of hand, this game isn't going to last too long.
Yeah, the only one I could think of that might be more pressure would have been like Ragavan into turn 2 Molten Rain, but Guide of Souls is an extremely powerful one-drop. Ocelot Pride, Ajani, doesn't really matter what the follow-up is, just take your pick.
Yeah, so Talisman into another repurposer. I guess Gavin might just go, I'm going to have to race you here.
Yeah, so at this point, Ben's not really going to be able to attack through the trick where you can attack with Ajani's Cat Warrior and hope it gets chumped or trade off or something like that to get the Ajani flipped. Isn't going to be good enough here. Gavin's got 2 spawns that, yeah, he'd rather keep them around for mana, but if it's at the cost of 1 mana to stop an Ajani flipping, you will normally take that. I think a Flage here would be the ideal. It gets to kill one of the repurposers and you get 1 more Guided Souls trigger. That's going to allow you to jump one of your creatures and start attacking over the repurposer. Although Ben has just noticed that it looks like one of his sleeves is fully split. I hope that's not a card that's bent like that. No, it's not the card, it's just the sleeve.
Yeah, it's a good spot there as well. But it all sleeved up in the classic black. The good old Adam Bowers trick, as we know. Lending all the decks means all my decks better be sleeved in black. The tapping the 2, bringing the Ajani. That's a decent one again. Ajani's done some work here. Obviously sacking to himself to then eventually flip the Ajani. We do start doing a bit of Ajani pew pew again. Maybe taking out a Displace or 2 here as we go.
Well, yeah, so no red permanent at the minute, so the Ajani's not actually going to be shooting anything. It's just going to be either making cats or making the cats bigger. I think Ben's just having a look, because with 4 energy available, if this is a Ragavan here, that could be really, really good, because that gives you 6 energy. It means you can attack with 1 cat now, attack with another cat later on, jump both of them. The Ajani ticking up could make it even more damage. It's an Ocelot Pride. Okay, so
that's pretty good.
Yeah, just putting a whole bunch of dross in the way, essentially, where the Ocelot Pride's going to make a cat token. I believe that'll be 9 permanents. So, with the Ajani 0, that is actually going to be the City's Blessing. So then we're going to get 2 more 2/1s, because we played an Ajani this turn and 0'd Ajani, and we're going to get 2 1/1 cats as well. And that's roughly 1 billion Guide of Souls triggers as well. So quite a wall that Ben has constructed here. I'm not sure those repurposes are going to be getting through that much.
So far out the cats, we've had to resort to a rat-a-tat, which is a little bit like the sound of a Goblin Bombardment when it's going off with this many permanents. Into the face of the purposes.
In this case, the Goblin Bombardment's more like a fully automatic AA-12, just blowing the walls down along with your opponent. But no Goblin Bombardment yet, so I hate to say it, a Kozilek's return here from Gavin would actually just reset the board entirely and allow these repurposers to both kill the Ajani and attack Ben for 3. So he is by no means out of the woods here. The only thing that would be left is that flying 4/3 cat.
Is this one of those game states when you're 1-0 up and you've got this opportunity that you do just play into it because the opportunity cost of making them have it is better than playing it safe?
I think you can a little. I don't think it's... A lot of people will win game 1 and then go, oh, screw it, I'll keep the 1 lander in game 2 because who cares if I lose? You are spewing percentage points doing that, so please don't do that sort of thing. But in this case, because it's such a robust clock, I think it's correct to do it whether you're 1-0 up or 1-0 down. And to be honest, I would trust Ben to make the correct play 99 times out of 100. So I will bow to him. He was able to beat Gavin in the Swiss of this tournament with Boros. I wasn't able to. I then lost to him in top 8. So I will bow to Ben's superior gaming ability, to be honest. But Heragast coming down is pretty damn good.
That's a big cast, mind. That's a very big cast. But I guess for Ben so far, there is no Emrakul, which is a positive. But what has Gavin gone and tabled here with the redraw? Let's have a look.
So that's enough for... That's Kozilek's return mana.
Yeah, it is. So as we mentioned, that board reset, and away the repurposer goes at the Ajani, and Ben is very much under the cosh here.
Yeah, Ben is back to very much square one. Can't even attack with his Cat Warrior anymore because the Heragast does actually have flying, being an Eldrazi dragon. So I think I did see a static prison in hand.
Yep, there it is.
So that'll deal with the Heragast for now. Gavin's at 10. Ben does have 9 energy, so I wouldn't think we're seeing that Heragast at any point this game. I'd be very, very surprised. And Gavin is down to 6, so
yeah,
having to fetch shock there just to sort the mana out to actually emerge the Heragast was costly, but did draw the Kozilek's return. So
Ben is going sideways with a Thrage, so as Gavin taken to 3, they're going to need to respond like very, very quickly.
Yeah, so a 7-drop Eldrazi would be good enough because the Kozilek's return being exiled from the graveyard would deal with the Count Warrior. So any 7-drop, which Gavin does play quite a few of them, would actually be good enough. Didn't get it.
I didn't get it, and Mr. One and Done, Ben Jones himself, is off to Antwerp in November. Congratulations, Ben. Glad to see you winning there. Scott, have you got any thoughts other than we just watching one of the goats of the game?
I wouldn't go that far. He's pretty damn good. I wouldn't say goats of the game. I mean, I have beaten him in Modern in recent memory with Yargle and Multani in my deck. So he's not infallible, as is no one. But yeah, he is very, very, very good. I believe that was you waving if I identified your hand correctly there.
That was correctly me. So as we know, pretty good player, but he can't beat Jank. If you haven't checked it out already, please check out our recently announced 7 River series. Go take it out on socials. If you are still here, just use that Magic Online code. Crack on, enjoy it. Thank you, Magic Online, for all your support. Scott, we'll see more of you on the next ones because we're going to take a look on your journey on this RCQ time. Any final words?
You people better use that Modo code before I get to it because that's a vintage cube, baby.
Thanks for watching, everyone. See you on the next one.